Welcome back to Jim's Jeeps. In the previous episode, we were putting the head back on this 258 after it came back out of the machine shop. And I also put the valve cover on, the rockers on, and everything like that. Today we're going to install the intake and the exhaust manifold and put the accessories back on the front of the engine, get the throttle body reinstalled, and start it back up and see how we're doing. Thanks for joining us today. Those of you familiar with the 258 will know this is the front downpipe part of the exhaust system. That flange on the left goes into the catalytic converter. On the right, there's almost a funnel looking ball joint piece that marries up with the manifold. I have to confess, while I was putting the valve cover back on, and I don't know how I did it, I won a contest here. I got a bolt down the exhaust, so that made me have to take this whole front downpipe off, which I did. Not a big job, but you know, it's just one of those things that you make a mistake when you're kind of rushing and going too fast. I should have stuffed a rag in the exhaust port there. The manifold studs were removed during the machine shop time. Put them back in. There's also two dowel pins which can also be removed, usually not. Put the exhaust manifold gasket on first. You can use the two outer studs to kind of hold it up, and the dowel pins to support it sort of in the middle there. As you can see, the intake, exhaust, throttle body, etc. are already installed. So I actually got everything reinstalled, and you saw me install the manifold and the exhaust in the previous episode. It's fairly simple. You hang the exhaust gasket on there, on the dowels, on the engine head, or on the head, and then you can hang the intake manifold gasket on top of that, and then it's a sandwich. Because the 258 has the EGR tube, both the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold would go on as really kind of one piece, even though they're two separate pieces. They're tied together with the EGR tube. The mount for the throttle body stayed on there. That's that aluminum billet, about 3/4 inch piece there on top of the manifold. I have to get a new air cleaner. This one's pretty sketchy, although it does work. It's just not cosmetically pleasing, let's say. Went back together perfectly. I did start it up. It ran fine. I took it on a little drive, and you can see the next job is to replace the master cylinder, which the cover gasket has apparently decided to leak pretty much all over the place, and that's a pretty easy swap out, but we'll probably do a video about that. Other than that, everything's back together. The HEI plug wires are all back on, and the good news is there is no more smoke. It was a valve guide issue. I think I mentioned in the previous episode, the valve guides were off by about 0.002 in the first 3 cylinders or so on the intake side, and a couple of them were fairly pitted. And so the theory is that pitted part of the valve was drawing oil down into the guide, where it would kind of pool up and eventually kind of run down the rest of the stem and work its way into the combustion chamber. And that would happen under high vacuum at a light. If the vehicle was under throttle all day long on the expressway or whatnot, the interstate, no issue. It won't burn a drop of oil. But when we're in those high vacuum conditions, it would draw the extra oil in there. So that's all I have for today. If there are any comments or questions, please post them below. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that little bell. You'll be notified when the next episode of Jim's Jeeps comes out. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next video.